Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Your Average Critics, our podcast dedicated to film, TV and pop culture. I hope you enjoyed last week's Oscar-filled special. As we've recorded 2 in a short space of time, it's actually going to be in a couple of podcasts' time we'll be able to discuss the Oscar winners. But we're voting for Viola Davis and Denzel. Not that we get a vote, but we would cast it in. We would cast it in their direction.
Who votes?
Just
How are they decided?
The white man.
Just the hegemony, the patriarchy.
The corporate fat cats.
Big men in suits.
I think basically, if you get nominated for an Oscar, then you get on their Oscar board that you then get to vote. I think there's like I think it is literally an academy of people, hence the Academy Awards. But this week's podcast is going to be predominantly about TV, from old and new. We've only been on this earth for 23 years, so we can't talk about like shit from the 60s and stuff. Well, we could, but...
Well, yeah, there's a show that I watch.
Obi watches EastEnders.
That's been going on since the 80s, yeah. Well, I don't watch it anymore, but I used to watch a show called Different Strokes, and that started in the 70s, and they used to show reruns in the 90s. I used to watch that, and that was in the 70s. But yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone who was on that show, apart from one person, is dead now, so... Morbid. Anyway, move on.
Last week's podcast was depressing enough to talk about Oscars.
About good stuff.
Should we start with old or new?
I think we should go old first.
Right, old. Now, what's the Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon?
Nickelodeon.
Mate.
All day.
Cartoon Network for me.
Yes.
'Cause I never had Nickelodeon, so...
I respect.
Wow, you're so poor.
Did you have to pay for them?
Nickelodeon, I'm pretty sure you did, yeah.
Oh, really?
And I think you had to pay for Cartoon Network after a certain time.
Yeah,
or
you had to have
something. I don't know.
had some sort of package.
Oh, okay.
But there was a point in my life where we were switching TV providers, and I just had channel 1 to 5, and it was some of the worst times of my life.
Oh my gosh, you poor
Yeah.
kid. That's neglect.
Tracy Beaker.
Tracy Beaker going back. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, BBC.
They've spun that off, and it's still going. They call it the dumping ground now.
Really?
I thought
And it's still going on CBBC. Yeah, it's mad.
Oh, was it Justine? Was that her name? She was
Justine,
a bitch.
She's kind of decent now. I'm just saying. But
She's going to win an Oscar.
maybe. But
Well,
yeah,
one of the people
for me,
from
definitely Nickelodeon. I watched much more things on Nickelodeon than I did.
Oh, what did you watch on Nickelodeon?
Well, I watched
What didn't he watch is the question.
Rugrats,
Yep, these.
Kenan and Kel, Drake and Josh, Fairly Odd Parents,
Oh, mate,
Ren and Stimpy, Doug. What else? Off the top of my head, that's all I can think of. But,
Hannah Montana.
no, that's Disney.
So no,
that's Disney too. No, but to be fair, Disney's up there. Disney, for me, it goes Nickelodeon, Disney, Cartoon Network, personally. But yeah, Cartoon Network had a couple gems, to be fair. Dexter's Laboratory.
Dexter's Lab, Ed and Eddy.
Ed and Eddy, yeah.
Johnny Bravo?
Yeah.
Nah, I hated Johnny Bravo.
That was on there though.
Yeah.
Courage the Cowardly Dog was on there.
I hated that too.
That
There was
weird.
the what? Was Cat Dog?
Cat Dog was
That's
on there.
Nickelodeon.
Oh, that's Nickelodeon.
Oh, was
yeah.
it?
I didn't have any of
Angry
these.
Beavers. Didn't even watch Angry Beavers.
Yeah, that was on ITV though.
That was on Nickelodeon as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of these fancy channels.
No.
Sabrina the Teenage
No.
Witch.
What
Dragon
did you
Ball Z.
have? What did you watch when you were a kid?
I was just 1 to 5 channels, 1 to 5.
He watched Shaun the Sheep and all that stuff.
Like Milkshake on Channel 5.
when I was like,
And,
when I could go to someone's house and be like, oh my god, they've got this channel, I'd be
what's that
watching
one?
it.
The one with the girl with pink hair. You used to watch that one as well, didn't you?
Lazy Town.
Yeah, Lazy Town. Look, I definitely went to your house and we
That
watched
was just
it.
on TV.
And we
wasn't
watched
watching
it.
it.
I am
Nah,
fairly sure
you're
we would have been at
rubbish.
least late primary school when Lazy Town came
We were
out.
like 13.
Got it on DVD,
I went to your
obviously.
house and we watched Lazy Town.
He's catching up. You've got some catching up to do, mate.
There was a few things though on like regular channels that were on, but like never took my attention. Like Thunderbirds was a thing where they had all the puppets, and then you had Pokemon on SMTV Live, I think it was.
Bamzooki. Did anyone ever watch
Bamzooki.
Bamzooki?
No.
Is Bamzooki the one where they create the
Little-
robots?
Yeah.
and they fight each other.
No?
You can go
No.
online and create a robot, and then you come with
And
your
then they
team.
pitch
and
them against each other.
Yeah.
It's wicked. It's like Beyblades, but like real life.
Beyblade's another one.
Oh, that's Cartoon Network too, Beyblade. Beyblade was one of my favourites.
Then you had
Power Rangers was
Power Rangers.
Fox Kids, I think.
yeah,
Or Jetix, whatever they
Jetix,
call
yeah.
it.
Then there was like a thing on Channel 5 which was almost like Pokemon, Digimon-ish, was like Monster Rancher, but that would have been for regular 1 to 5 channels. But then Digimon's another one, that was really good as well.
Yu-Gi-Oh was Nickelodeon as well.
Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Obes, you've watched a lot of children's TV. Obviously, you're very fortunate. What would you say was your favourite
I say yeah.
My favourite
show?
I had no friends, to be fair. Anyway, my favourite show. Oh gosh. I reckon top 3.
This is becoming a trend in our show.
I can't
What's your favourite? And it's my top 3.
I can't pick a favourite. I honestly can't pick a favourite because there was so much stuff that I was like just dedicated to, and there was Rugrats.
Yeah.
Actually, to be honest, I'm just going. Rugrats is my favourite. I'm just putting that out there. Rugrats is my favourite. Then probably Power Rangers, and then it's either Beyblade or Yu-Gi-Oh. One of them.
Did you ever watch Recess?
Oh yeah, I love Recess. Yeah.
Did you hear the dark fan theory about Rugrats?
Yeah.
Is that like is it Angelica? Or is that
schizophrenic? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all dead or something.
Well, all but 3 of them are dead.
So why do people come up with this shit, man? Like, it's just
Really sad.
It's gonna fuck up my childhood.
Yeah.
It's sad, but like clever almost.
No, I
like
don't
you
like
think
it.
about it, like
They say that with Phoebe though, don't they? From Friends.
Yeah,
Like
so
apparently she's it's just
mental too.
a dream of
Yeah.
how she would react.
Again, it's bollocks. It's like when we were in school and in English and doing poems. Oh, the writer meant to do this when he wrote this. Maybe he was just writing X, Y, Z, and maybe X, Y, Z didn't mean A, B, C. Maybe he was literally just writing what he said. But anyway, Rugrats, my favourite.
Okay, Chris.
did watch Digimon quite a bit. Really like that, so I'm probably gonna have to go with that. Digimon.
That was a spud right there.
Yeah.
Oh, you actually gave me one.
Yeah,
Wow, I was expecting I was expecting like 10.
Well, if I did a top 3, Dragon Ball Z was probably up there.
Really quickly, who's your favourite Digimon character?
No, that's a question and a half.
That's a
I can only remember the
When you say
yellow
characters,
one.
do you include the monsters as well?
Yeah, include monsters too.
What's that yellow dinosaur looking one? That's the only one I remember.
Agumon.
Agumon.
Something like that.
How do you remember that?
That's
G.
memory right there.
this?
That's memory.
It's because he still watches this shit.
Do you know what I mean?
Most probably.
Probably the main character, Tai. I think probably. I don't know.
Yeah, Ty was a warrior.
Didn't really think about it like that too much, but yeah.
Ty, you had Matt,
Yeah.
you had Mimi,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
you had
You're a fangirl,
Yeah,
mate.
you had Davis, but he was the new generation.
New generation.
And Izzy. Izzy was in
yeah.
the first generation. I can't remember any of the rest of them. Carry on.
There's only like 3 more anyway,
Yeah.
so he's doing pretty well.
Alright, from the 5 channels that you privy to watching, what was your
To be
favourite?
fair, I was with you. I had like the 5 channels for a good long time, and then for like 2 years I had Cartoon Network, and then it was gone. So
There was really nothing that stood out. I mean, I was just like, when I was lucky enough to see something, I was like hooked on it. So Pokemon, like I got the cards and trading cards at school and all of that. Following it, yeah.
Cards.
I was never a big Pokemon fan.
I was a big fan of the cards, and I probably was of the cartoon like you said, but like watching back at some of the episodes, it's like, wow, this is.
I never
boring.
understood it though. So he was like catching these animals to fight them against each other, and
I think the games are a lot better than the show. Like Yellow, Blue, or just name a
They're
colour.
like Sun and Moon now, or something.
Yeah, that
Go.
defined our generation, man. Oh, Pokemon Go, when that was released, I jumped on that bandwagon.
They've just brought out Generation 2.
Yeah, it kind of got shit, but
Yeah.
What's your favourite though?
to be honest, I watched a lot of WWE.
Oh, then spud me!
Yeah.
Oh, God!
Nah, you can't say that for this one though.
That
It's cartoons.
was-
It's
we're gonna-
cartoons.
No, it's kids. What we watched as kids, and I watched WWE as kids.
We're going to have to do
Yeah.
WWE special because
Oh,
I have
mate.
got a lot to...
Oh wow.
Oh, my God.
Oh, who's your favourite wrestler back in the day? Back when it was real.
Back when it was
real.
Oh, when there was blood and all sorts. Probably Eddie Guerrero, God rest his soul.
Oh, is he the one who was friends with Rey Mysterio?
Yeah.
Or was it
Rey
Rey
Mysterio was second.
He was like the 619. Deary me. When he
wrestling. Before I got into football, wrestling was my football. I was
and the
on
rest,
it every
the
day.
WWE games on like
yeah,
consoles,
yeah,
they were
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
I used to go underneath the ring, get the chair, smack it around his head like Chiron.
Like Chiron.
Boom.
There was a lot of shock factor in WWE as well. Like I remember the one where I think it was once Undertaker got actually buried alive.
Yeah.
And then there was another thing where Kane like put someone's head between
In
a
a
steel
chair.
chair and he jumped on
Yeah.
it.
Oh. And there was coughing up blood and
like,
shit.
yeah, for ages I was as a kid I was like, the shit, that's real. Like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah,
But then
yeah.
you find
But
out.
you look
They
at
can't
it
do
real.
that now.
Yeah,
They're
they're
not allowed.
No. Sorry, it is real, sorry, Ali.
And I also really liked Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Yeah.
Plank was my favourite character.
I
I related so much to that piece of wood.
I really liked Ed and Eddy, but they never got any. They rarely got gratification. They rarely got what they always were. serial triers, but they never actually, they never actually got there. It's like the American dream. They tried. But they never got it.
What I don't ever remember, like as a kid, and maybe it's just because I got a really bad memory, but the shows we watched, did they ever actually have a conclusion? So, like, was it just episode after episode? Like, was there ever like a set narrative? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you mean in every episode or
No,
at the end
over
of
the series. Like, I don't ever remember watching a show from the first episode to the last episode. And maybe, and another thing is that they just put so many repeats on. Like, you just watch the same episode over and over again. I don't ever remember watching the first episode of Recess right up until the last episode.
I'm sure that there was a conclusive episode. I'm sure
Recess?
I'm sure they must have made a conclusion.
Recess.
They must have
It's
known.
over.
They must have.
Go to
They
class.
must have known it was coming to an end and then done an episode. Surely.
I think they just ended it.
Yeah.
I think.
We'll
I
have to
think,
do
I think with a lot of
research on
shows like that, as far as I can remember.
But I don't ever remember, maybe it's just because I wasn't like as into TV or film as I am now, but I don't ever remember thinking, oh, I'm sad that's ended. Like, it just kind of...
It's not like a continuum. So like Recess wouldn't be like, oh, they're all leaving school now. I don't think it's just like random episodes.
It just
that are
ends.
now like
Yeah.
It's not like Who Murdered Mickey, it's like a thread
Mikey.
throughout Mikey.
Come on.
That shows my memory.
To be fair, a programme that I used to watch all the time on BBC was Ka-Ching.
Oh,
And that did have I didn't realise it did, but it did have a conclusive ending. And he
Okay.
did make the million for his mum.
Maybe I just dipped in and out of these shows too much.
Yeah. But this is the thing, like, because nowadays, when you're watching a show, you know when it's on. You'll either make time to watch it when it shows on live TV or whatever, or you'll record it, or you'll watch it back at a certain time. When you're a child, you don't make. You watch TV. You watch TV when you get put in front of the TV. When you get put in front of the TV,
True.
you watch TV when you can,
Oh.
so you can miss.
Simpsons
Yeah.
for dinner
Yeah.
every time 6 o'clock.
That's the thing. I've seen so many episodes of that, but the same ones. I don't know if I've ever watched an entire series.
Oh, sorry, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, like, you may have watched this, Ollie. I think it was on ITV. Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids.
Oh my god.
I know of that.
That was awesome. Oh my god, I used to love that. One of those episodes came up on Facebook the other day, and I was just like, yeah, this is nostalgia. Like, that's probably when I got into like horror, even though it was very mild.
Did even you guys watch
That's what broke
Bear
me.
in the Big Blue House?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
classic.
That was a banger.
And who's that woman who had the aeroplane and the dog? Come fly
Oh,
with me?
yeah.
No.
No, I
No,
remember.
who are we talking about?
No.
Yeah, I totally remember the one you're talking
Pippin. Is that the dog? Pippin.
Pippin.
about.
Yeah, and there was this like, old woman. She had an aeroplane.
Do you guys ever watch Burner's Watch?
Yes.
That was
Did you
such
ever
a
see-
sick idea.
even from a young age, I always thought, what sort of crime can I commit with this? With Burner's Watch? What can I steal with Burner's Watch?
Just steal a blue eyes dragon.
In it, Blue Eyes
thing.
White Dragon.
Well,
I'd love to
Did
have
you
had
say
it.
Dennis the Menace as well?
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, that was alright.
Yeah, Dennis the Menace.
I kind of think. Well, actually, sort of related. But I remember in the first episode, you were outraged that I'd never seen Lion King. I had actually watched it by the second episode. We just haven't had a chance to talk it. I kind of feel like it was a shame that I watched that first time as an adult.
Yeah.
Um,
You've been made too cynical by the world.
yeah, man. I was just like, nah, it was alright. Well, I'm kind of hoping.
And with that, I'll be leaving this podcast from now on.
Obi out.
Yeah.
Is I think that the live action, well, I say live action remake that
Yeah.
Jon Favreau's doing.
Mm.
I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah,
But,
me too.
I don't know if it counts as live action if all of the characters are CG animated though.
Well, does Jungle Book count as live action?
Well, they had one live person in it, didn't they?
Only one. What
Well,
about the
Just
engine?
a boy.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're splitting hairs here, Chris.
I wonder if they'll make a second one because there is technically, isn't there a second one?
I don't know.
There is a Jungle Book too.
Yeah, so maybe they'll make a sequel.
Much less successful than the first.
Thing is though, they've done quite well with these like, live action remakes by the sounds of it.
They do
Like,
Beauty and the Beast
Yeah.
next month, I think it comes out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the Cinderella. I haven't watched that one, but that's supposedly all right. Have you ever seen any current kids' TV shows like Adventure Time?
I've seen a
Adventure Time,
couple. They're
classic.
shit, man.
Is
Fantastic.
Adventure
Adventure
Time-
Time fucking looks
Is
like
that actually for kids?
Yeah.
tripping on balls.
It is.
Yes.
Adventure Time.
It's so trippy. I'm like, what are kids
The
watching?
first time I saw it, I was on a trip with university, and we were in Spain, and I was watching it in Spanish, and I was like, "What is this program?" I didn't realise that it was like a big animated TV show. And I got back to the UK and watched it, and I was like, "Oh, I understand that episode now."
It's so trippy, man. I'm like, kids these days are just going to be, I don't know, constantly on drugs. Like,
Yeah.
That's the only way you can watch these things. Like the people who make them must be high all the time.
Cartoons are crap nowadays.
Well, they remade like Powerpuff Girls into like some
Yeah,
animated
they
things,
did.
so I'm assuming kids watch that. But yeah, that was pretty rubbish.
I think SpongeBob was quite trippy as well.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I love SpongeBob.
The SpongeBob was decent, but it was always like when you watch it, it's really weird.
Do you think?
Is it still ongoing?
Yeah.
Yes,
so.
SpongeBob's still going.
It's
Yeah.
proper weird, like some of the stuff they do, and you always see these like posts now, and it's like, oh, all the sexual imagery they put into kids' TV shows, and I don't know how true it is.
They
but-
did one. To be fair, I remember because I'm gonna admit something that's a bit embarrassing right now, but like last year I rewatched like the whole series of Rugrats just because it was on Netflix. I was like, okay, let me just watch it, right? And there was a bit I noticed where what's the dad's name? Stu Pickles. He's talking about how Howard and Chaz going away for a weekend, and he says they've gone away on some male bonding trip, and he does this. You can't really, I'm pointing my two index fingers together like that. So obviously,
Oh
kind of like,
right.
on a male bonding trip, he went like that. So I was thinking like, oh, you're two dicks, sort of thing. I was thinking I didn't notice that before. Obviously, I didn't notice that before. But when I watched it back, I was like, that's really strange.
There's a photo from Toy Story where
Don't ruin Toy Story, please. Don't ruin Toy Story.
and again, I don't know if this has been like photoshopped, but it's. I think the mum walks into the room and there's a shadow of this girl in front of Andy's like trousers, and so it looks like she's giving him head. And I'm like, why the fuck would you put that in a kid's film? Like,
It's
there's
weird,
no need to do that.
Yeah, it's strange.
So I'm gonna need to rewatch it to see if I can actually see that scene, but. I don't want my kids watching this shit. They're just gonna be like, "Oh, why is this
They
sponge
don't see that,
talking
though.
and
They don't see
plankton and
that.
what the hell, man? Like, well, just good old WWE. That's child-friendly stuff, man.
Booker T.
Booker T,
Kurt
mate.
Angle. Oh, we need to talk about that in a later
Angle,
podcast.
mate.
But can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
Do you guys watch Keenan? Did you guys watch Keenan and Kel?
No.
You didn't.
No.
Did you, Chris?
Yeah.
Did you, Ollie? No, you wouldn't have.
I did watch Drake and
Drake and
Josh.
Drake and Josh, yeah.
And the other one that I didn't watch, which everyone hates me for, is who's the one that Dusty thingy was in?
Dusty.
Oh,
Dustin?
Saved by the Bell.
That's it. Yeah, I never watched that either.
Oh, that was a great TV show. Yeah, no, you should watch that. But I've got another question actually. I'm going to come back to that. Remind me in a minute. Chris, did you prefer Keenan and Kel or Drake and Josh?
I found Kenan and Kel a lot funnier, I think, than I did Drake and Josh.
Me too.
But then, yeah, no, Kenan and Kel was definitely
me
better,
too,
much
me
better.
Too, me too. There's people
But I
trying to
probably watched more Drake and Josh because of how my
Yeah.
age and like what was available to me. But
Yeah.
Kenan and Kel was definitely better. And they had a little movie as well, which was
They
pretty
did,
good,
yeah.
didn't they?
That movie is so funny.
Yeah.
Cool.
Didn't they have a reunion like really recently?
They
did
teamed
it
up on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, SNL, yeah.
But those two hadn't spoken for years.
No.
They're not really mates anymore.
Because one of them
which
still
a
is
shame.
in TV, and the other one is he more music?
He's in some very, very low budget films.
No, gosh.
That's probably why they don't talk.
Yeah.
There's always one
The thing
success
they-
festival.
When Keenan and Kel finished, they both went for the same spot on Saturday Night Live. Keenan got it, Kel didn't.
Ooh.
And then Keenan went on sort of this thing like, I don't want to be known as Keenan and Kel, I just want to be Keenan Thompson. So he kind of just stopped talking to Kel, and then they just completely separated.
That's a shame.
You
But
know, it is. I can understand why he did it, but
Yeah.
Showbiz.
you know,
Kids TV fucks people up, doesn't it?
it does.
You know, like Miley Cyrus has had a bit of a checkered history, and even
She's
like
getting kind of normal now, though, isn't she? She hasn't heard her do anything in a while.
Well, now that you've said this, by the time this comes out, she would have done
Yeah,
something.
probably.
She's in the paper.
talking about duet, like not duets, but two people working together. Do you think Ant and Dick? Oh, and I suppose you could say Dick and Dom, although you don't hear from them anymore. Do you
Dick and
think?
Dom the Bungalow. I actually applied to be on that show, man.
Did she?
Yeah. I told my mum that the other day. She was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Wouldn't I need to sign something?" I was like, "Yeah."
If you were telling your mum that, I'd be concerned for your mum and be like, "What? Dick and Dom in the bungalow? You're definitely not going there. I don't know what you're replying to."
But like, Dick and no,
And Dick.
Ant and Dick. Do you think they always planned to continue their careers together? Because they started in Biker Grove together, then they did music together, PJ and Duncan, and then SMTV Live and whatever else.
Yeah.
Then they did a film together. And now they're in
I don't think they planned it, but it just kind of panned
I
out.
think they're just such good mates.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
That's the dream, really.
because they keep winning that award as well, don't they? Like every year they win. Like
17th year in a row.
Yeah, must be getting boring. You don't even want to compete, do you? Really?
Yeah.
So, what I was going to ask when you brought Saved by the Bell. So I always found that TV shows back in the 90s, mostly American TV shows, I didn't really watch any British stuff at that point. But they would have sometimes these episodes where they do like what they call them after school specials, where they talk about like some sort of serious issue. So a lot of time they talk about sex or drugs or stuff like that. Do you think children actually like pay attention to that stuff, or do you think it actually like affects their lives?
I think it depends what age they're at, because I think as a younger child, if that had been said, it would have literally just gone straight over my head, and I just would have been like, okay, it's just a bang average episode of whatever it is. So me personally, unless you're old enough, I don't think it's gonna have much effect on you.
That's fair.
You were the one watching them, so did it have an effect on you?
Did you realise it back then as you do now?
Did you have an epiphany?
I think there were certain episodes that I was like, oh shit, that's like. Also, I didn't say that, but I was thinking like, oh, okay, that's dangerous. Like there was off the top of my head, there's an episode of Saved by the Bell where one of the characters she gets really stressed out because she's got a lot of stuff on, like extracurricular activities. She starts taking like pills to keep her awake and stuff like that, and then she kind of like gets addicted to them and goes a bit loopy for a bit, and they talk about like the dangers of drug abuse and stuff like that. And when I was watching that, I was probably like, I don't even know, maybe like 9 or 10, and I was a bit like, oh, because the only thing that stuck with me was how crazy she was acting at one point. So I was like, oh, okay, don't really want anything like that to happen to me or anyone I know. And there was an episode of Different Strokes where basically it was like kind of like a rapey episode, sort of like a predator thing. And I remember watching that thinking, that is messed up. I was probably like 10 or 12 when I watched that.
So you're saying it's good that they do have these episodes?
I think it's good because well, me as a child, I watched a hell of a lot of TV.
I guess that's where they get a lot of their learning from.
Exactly. This thing, like for example, my mum and dad have never ever talked to me about sex. Anything that I have learned or know about sex, I've learned from watching TV. So
that's not right.
It's not, but
I'm glad you didn't grow up watching Game of Thrones, because you would have some fucked up images about sex, I'll tell you that.
Well, a new generation of kids might do then.
I think kids, or we say kids, like children, I think, and maybe this is just like through what I've seen, but I think like they understand and are exposed to a lot more that we were at their age. They kind of
they've got the internet now.
They're getting a lot more like sexualized and a lot more exposed to violence and things like that through video games or whatever. And I think with internet, I mean, we are millennials still. Yeah. So we did grow up with the internet, but I didn't have a computer in my house till I was 12.
I didn't have a phone at school till
that's true.
Secondary in the secondary school.
So I guess because my girlfriend's 1-year-old sister, she's 2 now. She can work on iPad. She can open the iPad, go on YouTube, and go on Peppa Pig. And I'm like, what? I didn't have to do that till I was like 12. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So I think they can stream things that they're not really allowed to watch, or, I think definitely those sort of episodes might be more important to this generation. God, we sound so old, man. I'm not even that old.
Especially even with like what's it called, like online predators and all shit like that. So
at least you're aware about this stuff, though. So.
True.
That's why things like Waterloo Road used to be really important.
Waterloo was the bangers back in the day.
Oh my god!
Ollie, you got me onto Waterloo Road. I remember up to like when they killed off Denzel Kelly. That's when they got shit.
Was Denzel the one that we met in Malia? Playing that football thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was definitely him.
Denzel Kelly, when they killed him, I was like, oh man. Now, I remember this is how far-fetched Waterloo Road got. I'm pretty sure the second to last season, one of the last member from season 1, I think this must be like season 8 or something, he died. He died by falling off a roof because he got shot by a crossbow from Kyle Stack, who was played by George
Samson,
thank you. He shot him with a crossbow and he fell off the roof and died.
Oh my god. Didn't they relocate to Scotland?
Yeah, they did.
Who just does that? Who just ups the score and moves to
so,
Scotland?
It was
ridiculous.
So it was really weird.
Oh, that went downhill.
That went proper downhill.
Right, modern TV.
Modern TV. Well, how modern are we talking? Walking Dead has just come out. New
series.
New episode in the second half of the season 7.
Okay. What do you think about mid-season breaks? Are they annoying?
I mean, you get into it, it's just such a long build-up, and it's like, so, for season 7 there was, I think, 12 or 13 episodes, and then you have 6 weeks, or, not 6 weeks,
It might be about
a few months off, and then you're back in with another 10 or 12 episodes. So it's in total, if you want to watch a season of Walking Dead, you got to have 23 hours to spare. So that is a bit long, but keeps the suspense going.
Okay. And what is it about Walking Dead that's kept you engaged for 7 series?
Yeah, sell it to me because I don't watch it.
It's the apocalypse, man. Survival of the fittest. No, it's just following these characters, and I don't want to. Well, there will be loads of spoilers, but
yeah, spoilers incoming.
For the start of season 7 was pretty horrific because it's quite similar to why you guys love Game of Thrones, that you don't really see what's coming because there's books for Game of Thrones and there's comic books for The Walking Dead, and they're just killing off beloved characters left, right, and centre, and it's
The Walking Dead's been around for 25 years, you know. The comics.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because someone I knew got a comic, and they were selling it for 25p because it was 25 years. I think it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one.
Okay.
But I've ruined quite a bit of Walking Dead for myself, like up to this point, because I've read a few bits online and stuff.
Have you read the comics?
I've read
are they following the comics quite closely, or
relatively close? Like that. Spoiler: the end of start of season 7. They killing Glenn. That was in the comics. Then they killed off. Who's the other bloke?
Abraham.
But Abraham, I don't think
he does die, but he dies earlier on.
He died.
So
you know where the lady got shot in the eye?
I've only seen up to series. Started series 5.
Oh, well, sorry then.
It's alright. I've been exposed to that on social media anyway.
I'm sad because obviously Glenn was a pivotal character and everyone loved him. But
Glenn's in general just pivotal to everything.
Exactly.
Like,
but he was from the episode. He was from the very start.
He saved Rick in episode 1. He was helping Rick navigate
just
around that city.
Pizza delivery kid.
So what's happening to Maggie then? Is that her name?
Yeah. She's gonna.
Well, we don't know. We're gonna have to.
Oh my gosh, man! I need to catch up.
Sorry, mate.
So
we're not selling it to you, are we?
Alright, so Walking Dead. Boom, Chris.
Zombie apocalypse with this guy called Rick Grimes. He's an ex-sheriff because obviously he's not going to be anymore. He goes looking for his wife and kid because he was unconscious while this whole thing was happening. Finds her with a group of people. Then basically they go around, try and find a safe haven, and shit happens, and they just...
Yeah, it's like, who's worse, the dead or
the other people?
living?
Yeah.
I think it's the living, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Well,
because they've had some really good villains, haven't they? They had the governor, played by David Morrissey. They had Negan now, but I've not seen it. And then the people in Terminus, they were pretty
Terminus.
badass.
There was one season, I think
Series
season
4.
4, which is the most pointless thing.
Yeah.
They're travelling all the way to this place called Terminus for like safe haven because they've heard it's good and there's signs all the way there. End of the season, they get captured by these people. Beginning of the next season,
They leave.
They kill them all and leave.
It's a great episode. That one is the
that
breakout
series. That's why I haven't watched it since.
Really?
That series, because series 1 to 3 are really, really good and really gripping. And then series 4, I was just like, why did you bother doing this? There was hardly any that I can think of serious character development. They spent every episode was them walking through some woods. Going to Terminus, and then they get there, and then straight away they leave. I was like, I've wasted 23 hours of my life watching this shit, and I was like, I don't want to watch anymore. But then I've heard that it gets really good.
It does actually, because there's a character called Negan now, and he runs. His people are the saviors, and basically his way or the highway.
They are the military.
Yeah,
they are guns and ammo, and it is.
And basically, if you don't
down.
provide for him and his group of people, he will fuck your shit up. Basically.
This is a really random question. Is there any electricity in this world?
Yes.
I mean, it's apocalyptic world, so...
Where are they getting all these guns and ammo from?
It's America.
Yeah, this is true.
America!
But, I think, in the governor's place, they had it, all set up with, I suppose if you just fix it back up or you go to the local... I don't know how it all works, but...
I think in series...
panels.
I reckon in series 8 they should head towards Mexico, but they can't get in because there's a wall. And then all the Mexicans are fine, and they're just standing there, middle fingers up, like, fuck you.
Excellent.
That'd be great.
That's like World War Z. They're
That's a film that, I want to see number 2 of, but it doesn't...
That's
it's not going to happen, is it, really?
So what's
World War Z?
Yeah.
What's the thread of Series 7 then? Is it just about Negan, or are they trying to get somewhere, or what?
I think.
So it's a struggle between Rick and Negan. So the start is that Rick realises he's not in charge anymore because Negan has the tools, the numbers, the guns, everything. But like, so it's a bit sad to see the first half of season 7 with Rick seeming so low, pretty much like a coward because he's made the group survive this long.
Yeah.
But now is like the revolution, which I love. I love like a revolution in a film. Like Hunger Games, I wasn't really a fan of, but the second one, it was like the build up. But then that had a pretty poor ending actually. So looking forward to Rick versus Negan.
The thing is, you got as well like you have like Rick, who's this guy who will actually do anything to save people. Like I think one of the episodes he bites someone's neck, like rips it off or something, and kills him like to save himself. And then you have like this scene where Negan's basically got a bat with barbed wire around it, and he's ready to like hit him in the face or chop. He's gonna try and get him to chop off his son's arm.
Oh, Carl.
Yeah.
God, I hate Carl.
But like, well, this is it. Is Cole? Is they leading up to Cole taking over? Like, I don't know. But the last episode that
he got shot in the face. That
Yeah.
kid is pretty hardcore.
He's got,
you know?
eye. He's got one eye missing. And you see it in one of the episodes. You see Negan gets him to take off the bandage, and you just see this.
And he's like, "Whoa, that is fucked up."
Yeah.
Like this poor kid.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But then, like last episode, like I thought it wasn't like the most entertaining episode, but it set up a lot of things, and then you just see at the end of the last episode because Rick wants to do a rebellion almost, and he meets these people, and he just has a smile on his face, which just says it all. Really, it's just a great way to end the episode.
Okay.
But you've got all these people that you don't know about. Like, did we have a real conclusion to what the people with the W on the head meant? Didn't we have a conclusion?
What happened to Everyone Hates Chris's guy?
He died.
Did he?
Yeah.
He died.
Yeah.
Everyone Hates Chris was another good show, actually.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed that show.
Where do you think Walking Dead's going to go then? Because I guess now that it's started back up, you guys can, and I'll try and catch up, but maybe you guys can talk a bit about each new episode.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how far the comics go, so
They're quite a bit ahead, I believe.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there's always the worry about TV shows is that you lose your audience and it gets a bit boring, especially in this kind of universe where it is just the same thing over and over.
It's a bit limited,
So like
isn't it?
for the first season, it was like a couple of zombies and these guys were petrified. Now they're killing them in like the hundreds and the hordes.
Yeah, the zombies aren't scary.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think to keep it a bit suspense and to keep TV shows and the audience in captivated, you got to stick with short seasons.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I agree with him. Because almost you got this sort of point in Walking Dead. It's not right now, but you got this point where how long have they been living there? Like, are we assuming it's like 7 years they've been living through this apocalypse, or 3 years? It must be a good period of time. You would have thought by now that some government body would have figured out the problem or figured out a solution to this zombie apocalypse, but.
Or is there a government?
Well, this is it. They only go so far in a certain area, don't they? So, and they've only got so much petrol to last them if they got a car.
Weren't they supposed to go to Washington?
Yeah, that was a.
They went to the CDC as well, but they were on their way to Washington.
Washington was a big hoax by one of the guys.
Oh right, okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. So we don't know how much legs this thing's got.
No.
But would you rather then? I know we talked about it in episode 2 of the podcast. Would you want, because there's so many episodes, would you want them all released at once on Netflix or another streaming service, or are you quite happy to wait a week for 12 weeks and then a few months and then another?
Yeah, I do, because it's kind of like routine.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And even if you miss it for 1 week, you can catch up like 2 episodes and then you keeps going.
Yeah.
But if it is a dull episode, you do lose interest. Like I can imagine if you watch an entire series and nothing happened.
Man, just put me off so much.
I've got to agree with you because I did a catch up. Like, I think I missed the first 4 seasons, so I had to do a catch up of all that, and it was a bit. At times, you were like holding on for dear life to like just push through this.
Yeah.
So it is a strain. But then, like, I was going to ask, would you rather that you didn't know how many series there was till an ending, or would you rather, like Game of Thrones, you know how many seasons there are till an ending?
I think for me, I would quite like to know how many there are going to be, because like we discussed a couple of weeks ago with Supernatural, I assumed there was going to be 4 or 5, and so I was like, okay, I can do that. 4 or 5 series, and alright, I watched 4 or 5, and then they just kept being renewed, and then obviously there's always more and more TV shows that you want to start watching. So then I was just like, I can't keep up with all of them. So, and I guess it kind of builds anticipation. You're like, oh my god, there's only 13 episodes of Game of Thrones left, or however many we established a couple of weeks ago, and then you're like, shit, there's an end game to this. Whereas I guess if it's indefinite, then you're just kind of like, how long am I going to give this till I kind of give up?
I agree with you, to be honest.
And we have spoken about Game of Thrones quite a lot. So, are there any other shows?
Well, I was going to say, there's a spin-off of Walking Dead as well.
Oh,
Fear of the Walking Dead, yeah. So that's a prequel, but it only really was a prequel for the first season, and then it's exactly the same storyline.
Yeah.
I think that, no, the one thing good about it is that you have like zombie films and they're great, but they only last a couple of hours, and it's like the outbreak, the huge plot twist, and then, you know, like an ending, a happy or a sad ending. But this is kind of like living in it. Yeah. So I think this is something that people are in fear of, like the end of the world, because there's so many things that in the media and the news that people think is going to happen. But, you know, you're with this group, and it makes you wonder like how you would live and if you could survive for that long. And
They've got a web series as well. I think it's only a short one. It's like, I think it's called The Flight of the Walking Dead or something along those lines, where if the outbreak happened on a plane, I've never watched it, but that's another good way of looking at it, I suppose. But then if your pilot got turned into a zombie, like, how long would you really survive in the air? That's the big downfall of that series.
Obi's already got his plan for the zombie outbreak. He said straight to Sainsbury's.
I'll break it now.
Straight to Tesco's.
Tesco.
Chill.
Barricading the door. Get the canned goods. Put them in the warehouse.
yeah, that's
no,
not
put
bad.
the food in the freezers, mate. Store for longer, innit?
You want to go somewhere like Walmart where you can get guns and food.
Guns. Yeah.
That have one in England.
Can't do that here.
Maybe you go Asda or something.
Just go on the internet. I'm sure you can Google how to make a gun or something.
Ah, yeah, simple, innit?
Yeah, easy.
Does anyone watch the OA?
Yeah, that is sick.
You liked it?
Yeah, I think it's really good.
What did you like about it? Because I found it really frustrating.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, it was frustrating as well. But I just thought, because to begin with, I was like, this is gonna drag for so long, and then you get into it, and then you realise what the whole point of it is, and it's like quite a clever twist. Like,
so the OA is a Netflix sci-fi show about this woman who she went missing as a child, and she was blind, and then she comes back as an adult, and she has sight, and then she has all these like she feels there's flashbacks to like when she was in captivity, and she feels like if she does these certain arm movements, like a dance, that she will be able to open some sort of porthole to save her lover. So what was it that you liked in terms of the twist?
I thought it was quite. I didn't see it coming that they thought they were essentially. Is anyone here going to watch it?
No.
That they thought they were angels essentially, and I thought it was quite clever how. I don't know. It's really hard to explain it because in a way, it was like a bit tedious. Like how you had to wait for this girl to figure out some moves, and then one of them would pass out, and they'd figure out another part of the move, and then it's essentially this guy feels like they have this ability, and he's captured them all, and he wants to figure out what they know, and then essentially she's recruited these 4 people, and she's telling them the story we're seeing, and she's trying to teach them how to do these movements to essentially save someone's life. So they did this thing where one of them, I think, got shot, didn't they? And one of them got hit and he died, and then they did the movements and his blood came back into his body, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then they saved him. So I don't know. It was a.
But did you think, and there'll be spoilers as usual, that it was that she was lying in the end? Because the last episode they find books on basically like Russian history and all these things that she talks about, and it kind of suggests that she's been lying. How did you read it?
I read it as she believes it's true, and she's just trying to find other ways of figuring out how to do it. Cause I assume she can't quite remember, or she needs to teach them in order for them to do it with her. But then at the end she gets shot, and then they think they've done the movements.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the last episode, so they've been
that last episode was a bit dodge. I'm not gonna lie, because they all started doing a funny dance when there was a shooter.
Yeah,
and then
they spent all these episodes. Well, there weren't that many, to be fair, learning these dance moves and stuff, and then out of nowhere they're at school, and this shooter comes and starts shooting up the school, and then they do the moves and they distract him, and he ends up getting taken out. But I'm just like, A, the shooter came out of nowhere, and then B, like they did all the moves. And they saved people, but they didn't open the porthole that they were supposed to. So I was kind of like, is it real? Was what she was saying real, or what was the point of it? I mean, there's going to be a series 2, which I will watch, even though I was kind of frustrated with series 1. But it was just like one of those things that you kind of wanted an actual sci-fi ending, and I didn't get the payoff. Has anyone watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think it's really funny. I don't think that. I think it's season 4 now. I think the previous series are a lot funnier than season 4 has been. But I really enjoy it. I've tried to watch it when I can. So yeah.
Who's your favourite character?
Probably Jake.
Okay.
Probably Jake. Who are you?
I like Detective Boyle.
Yeah, he's
The
hilarious.
stuff he says is so funny.
He's so feminine. It's hilarious. It's so funny. It's so funny. Yeah, he's good. He's a good character. I really like him. I do try to keep up with sitcoms like regularly because I feel like I watch a lot of like dramatic television.
Yeah.
So I need to balance it out with some, just some laughter.
That's what we needed with the Oscars.
Yeah.
Sorry to keep going back to that, but I'm still depressed about it.
So
what's a good comedy show you're watching then?
I watch a few. So obviously there's like Big Bang Theory, which is like probably like the most watched one by people. I think that's on season 10 now.
They booked in another 2 seasons. I think.
Have they actually?
Oh, yeah.
Bit much,
I think me and Chris were saying like we feel like they should have wrapped it up by now.
I feel like they just want to have like the status of they're the longest running sitcom or something.
I think they've got a long way to go if they want the longest running.
Well,
Simpsons is on like season
not
20,
not including Simpsons.
Even like Cheers, I think Cheers went on for ages. Like
I don't know,
20 plus years or something.
I feel like they're in the Big Bang came out at the right time because it's in that time where everyone's getting a bit more like geeky and superhero, and they've done it right. But it just comes to the point where they're all gonna hit the point in life where they're like married with kids, and where they go from there. Really, like in this sitcom world, where do they go from there? I mean, I don't know if Raj has finally got a girlfriend.
No, he does not.
No,
no,
because he had a weird redhead girlfriend, but I assume they've broken up.
Yeah, broke up.
So poor old Raj. But
Big Bang Theory, New Girl, which is another one I think was funnier in earlier seasons. Still quite funny now, but the early seasons were funnier. Blackish, which is I don't think many people watch it, but I really like it. I think it's really good. What else do I watch? Last Man on Earth, which is so stupid that it makes me laugh. That's a post-apocalyptic thing.
Okay.
But they do a different take on it. They try to make it more like comedy based, and the main guy, Will Forte, his character is just so fucking dumb. And he just makes the really, really bad decisions, and it just makes me laugh. I just think it's so funny. But yeah, that's another one. And so there's a couple more, but off the top of my head, I can't really.
And you started watching Legion, right?
Yeah, Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Any good? I mean, Joe's not here this week again, so he's watching it as well. But
I think it's a good series. I think the first episode was.
What's it about first?
It's about when you first start watching it, you literally have no idea. But it's about a guy with superpowers, and he's a mutant, and he's for years thought that he has, I suppose, schizophrenia.
Yeah.
But he meets a woman in the place and mental hospital. They become girlfriend and boyfriend, but he's not allowed to touch her because that's her rule. She's not allowed to touch her, and then he kisses her, transfers bodies with her. She can't control his powers. She goes on a mad rampage of like.
What's his power?
Well, this is it.
Some sort of telekinesis.
He can have telekinesis, telepathic. He's got. I think he's got a multitude of powers, but he doesn't know what they are. And the people who have saved him, I'm not sure they know truly what they are. But in the second episode, you find out a bit more about him, and that he potentially has some fucked up father who would read him this book about killing, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
and he's very scared of it. And I don't know, you almost get this feeling like, because the girl who saved him, who's his girlfriend, she didn't really know what's going on either. I get a feeling sometimes like she's a bit new.
I feel like she's just been recruited.
Yeah. So I think it's got a good, it's got a good base to go from. It's very open at the moment. Like you're not really sure what's going on, but
I watched the first episode and it made me want to the first episode made me want to watch the second episode, but more to be like, I need to clear up what the hell's going on because I literally have no idea what was happening. It was jumping through dreams and reality and past and present and future, and I just didn't have a Scooby what was going on. But it was good. It's good, and I really like it. I really like the second episode because they kind of explained a lot of stuff. So I actually understood what was going on.
Yeah, because I didn't actually realise who that woman he lived with was. I thought it was his mum. So it's his sister.
So did I. I thought it was mum too.
So there was a lot more clarity in the second episode.
He kind of got like the Legion character. They rescue him and they take him to a place which I think it's kind of like a knockoff Xavier's X-Men Academy sort of thing. And the older woman is kind of like Professor Xavier. It's kind of like trying to guide him through his powers as if like what Xavier would do to his students in an X-Men film.
Is it an X-Man?
It's in the X-Men world.
This sounds like Xavier, is it not?
Yeah, well, it is Xavier's son. But
this is the thing.
You don't know that yet, though.
So his dad, so Professor X is reading him this murder.
This is the thing. So if Xavier is the guy's dad, then who the hell was that person reading the
I think Xavier's had this love interest, and he has not then pursued this love interest. She's had a kid, and then this man has become that child's Legion's father. I don't think that's Charles Xavier. I don't think it is either. I think Charles Xavier's left them behind, not knowing. Although I do get a feeling later on we'll find out that Charles Xavier did know about his son, and there'll be some like, "Oh, Dad, I hate you."
In the first episode, there was a guy. He walked past a guy with a bald head. I was thinking, "Oh, is that Xavier?"
You never know. Like, because Xavier seems to in the films, he seems to always be there in the background. Almost, he knows what's going to happen, but he can't.
Is this based off a comic, or is this they've just written it off the?
It's a comic, but I don't think it's a very well known one. Like not many people know about Legion, or it's pretty non-mainstream.
Well, they've got another comic, comic character coming to film, haven't they? Was it Black Lightning or something?
Black Lightning, yeah. Coming to CW.
Never heard of that myself. But...
Black Lightning. Sorry. But yeah, I've never heard of it either. And I think it's a TV show about a guy who's got some sort of electronic powers, and he used to be a superhero, but it's like in the present day he's hung up his cape or whatever, and he's a principal at a school, but his two daughters have superpowers as well, and they want to be superheroes, so he kind of like has to put the cape back on and make sure they don't get killed, something like that. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be in the same universe as like
the Arrowverse,
Flash, all that stuff.
Oh, so it's a DC character.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. But I really wish they had done Static Shock instead of, or static TV shows.
You never know, they might bring it back.
Lightning. Maybe.
But like, because that whole run of TV series, like, you know, we were talking about zombies earlier. One that me and Obi watch is iZombie, which is kind of a comedic kind of version of a zombie apocalypse, but it's not a zombie apocalypse. Sorry, it's
a zombie outbreak.
There's a zombie outbreak, but very limited people know about it, and they try and keep to themselves almost. But that's a really good one.
I feel like that show doesn't get enough credit. I feel like
it doesn't. Really, it doesn't at all. But if I recommended a show, that would be one that I'd probably recommend.
Is it something I'm gonna like?
Well, you like Walking Dead. This is more a comedy.
It's probably too happy for you.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm banging on about I want something happy. Yeah. What do you watch, Ollie? Apart from Walking Dead, what are you watching?
I'm actually on a streak of Psych, which I don't know if you
I watched like
guys
2 episodes.
know. Yeah, so it's just it's 2 guys and they get hired by the police department to solve murders. But every week it's like there's been a murder, and it's literally the same thing. But I like it because it's it's like a murder mystery, and you love that kind of stuff.
The guy's got he's got like not special abilities, but he can like
remember everything, and he's got like really
cool.
good observation powers or ability. Yeah.
Okay.
So it is good, but the one thing I would say about it is that when you watch the same thing, because I've been binge watching it recently, and it's the same format. It's like, they've accused this guy, but it actually turned out to be the last guy you'd expect.
Yeah.
And every week I'm like, every week, every hour now, because I'm watching it every hour. So I'm like, oh yeah, and I kind of want to see like some progression and like the love interest or the conflict between people. But the murder mystery is like that's really well written, and that's kind of what.
Is it like a body comedy or is it?
Yeah. Oh no, it's definitely a comedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds right. It sounds kind of like a real life version of Scooby Doo. You know, it's like you think it's this kid, you think the mummy's the principal, but it turns out it's someone else. Those pesky kids.
There's a couple of references, like they do, I think, a a cliche Scooby-Doo off episode because there's like a murder in a museum or something, and they're like, oh my goodness.
See, it wouldn't surprise me if they brought out that kind of a live-action Scooby-Doo TV series or something. They've done a film. The film was alright actually, but there is a Scooby-Doo comic book, and there's Power Rangers coming in a film. There's a Power Rangers comic book which they recently released, and they've actually done a Power Rangers Justice League crossover comic book. So,
is Power Rangers DC?
No, it's Saban. But I think that sometimes they do crossovers because DC and Marvel have both crossed over a few times. But
God, can you imagine?
That'd be brilliant.
Well, I don't know. Well, we'll have to see how the DC films go before we call it brilliant. But
no, but would you be brilliant? Do you get like Hulk to just smash Superman's head in, just like kill all of them? Like, literally rip them limb from limb.
What's happened to you?
You're sick!
You're so
broken.
Yeah, you've been broken emotionally. I'm
not sure
Hulk... Manchester by the Sea, man.
You need to watch some comedies, man.
I'm not sure Hulk could win either, mate.
Fuck off.
I'll tell you what you should watch. You might find it funny. The Other Guys. That's a pretty funny film.
Yeah, that's funny.
Will Ferrell.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah. And Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, watch it again, mate. Lighten up your life.
You need to watch some stand-up or something.
So what TV series are you watching, mate?
I haven't watched anything in a while because I've been binge watching all these Oscars films with my generic cinema pass. But I did watch for Christmas. My brother and sister bought me The Missing, which was a BBC One show about. Oh, there's two series. The first one was about a boy being abducted, and it's basically his parents his dad has never given up hope that he'll come back, and it's about. The whole series is it flips between the past and the present and like clues they find and stuff. And it was all right. The ending was really disappointing. And in series 2, has the same detective as the first one, but it's about a girl who was missing and comes back. But then they don't think it's the same girl that went missing. They think someone's like as an imposter. And series 2, and we can talk about it with films as well. Series 2 was so much better than Series 1. And it's so rare, I think, to have a series that is genuinely, or a sequel that is genuinely better than the first. I probably think the latest series of Game of Thrones that we've talked about are better than the first few. But are there any other shows or films that you think the sequel...
I think
24
Season 5 24 was really, really, really good.
And I think... they did quite well with the sequel series as well.
24 is probably my top 3 favourite TV shows of all time, by the way.
What about the new 24?
I haven't actually watched the episode yet, but you've watched it, haven't you?
I've watched a couple episodes. They got me hooked. They got me hooked in. But this is the first time I'm watching 24, and I actually have to wait for the next episode, because when Live Another Day came out, I kind of just waited. A few weeks, and then I would watch them like 4 in a row.
Yeah, it's 12 weeks when it was only 12
12
episodes.
weeks worth,
How many episodes is this? Yeah,
I think it's 12 as well.
12. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's 24, so it's got to be. It should be 24 episodes. But because with the 8 seasons of 24, I just binge watched them because I could. But this one I have to wait, and it's kind of long. So we were talking about this the other day, weren't we?
Yeah.
So. Another series which is better, I think, got better. The 100.
Okay.
I mean, from 1 to 2, I think season 2 was it 2?
I think season 1 was a better season. Yeah. So I thought season 1 was unbelievable.
Ah, fair enough then.
That's just me though. Don't let me count you.
Well, maybe I'm getting them mixed up, but I thought it was pretty good all round. I don't know about the newest season because I haven't watched that, but I'm trying to catch up.
What about films then? Films where...
Whoa.
Oh, sorry, jumping the gun.
I want to get in there and say that I think anything animated has to be better than the first season, just because when you see it, like South Park or Futurama. You think it looks a little bit off, and they're getting the voices and they're getting all the cast get together, and it then gets good. It then gets good. Yeah. South Park, loving it.
Yeah.
But now they've kind of gone off on a tangent.
Yeah,
and they're trying to stick to have a storyline, but stick to current affairs.
Yeah.
Whereas it was just fun seeing these kids get up to trouble in random episodes.
I think South Park seasons 5 to 15 are my favourites. Just like the most random episodes, and pretty much any episode that involves Randy Marsh in it, it's automatically a good episode because he's probably the best cartoon character ever.
I'll go with that because I think the latest series of Family Guy are a lot funnier.
I bet he was
Yeah,
funny.
Futurama I'd have to agree with as well.
That's something though. There's far too
Underrated
many.
Futurama.
Yeah, I think it's
Far
well
too many
underrated.
episodes and series of these animations that I can't keep up. I've got the box set of Family Guy, and I've not even finished series 1 yet, man. And I'm just like, oh, it's such a struggle to get through them. I guess because they're so short and they're not as engaging as, and I can't binge watch animation because
That's the sort of thing like just putting in the background.
Yeah,
exactly.
Nothing else.
Okay,
Like a time killer intermission.
can we talk about films then?
Yes.
Film sequels. So Joe said that his favourite film was Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. So Ollie, I want your opinion, mate, on because you said yours was Return of the King.
No,
Or was it Fellowship?
Mine was a Fellowship.
Oh, Fellowship. So you
Number
think the
one.
first one's the best?
Yeah.
So basically, the second and the third Lord of the Rings aren't as good.
Well, they're all just as good as each other, but my preference is the first one. But that's because it's like the build up and like it's getting to know the characters. So in the second and third, and for any film or any TV series like the Harry Potters, kind of you
Good
go
shout.
just
Progression.
think details get missed. I think. And it's nice just to see the development of the story. So that's what I like about the first one. Plus you get to see all these amazing places, and the fights in the end just get a bit crazy, crazy imaginative towards the Return of the King. But I'm not dissing it.
Okay.
I'm loving it.
So what is it about the later Harry Potter films that you think are better than the first?
No, I was saying the opposite.
Oh, you think the earlier Harry Potter ones are better?
I think the first one's the
I was saying so like.
I think the last one was the best.
So it's I like getting to know the characters and the story, but for Harry Potter, I think the later ones are better than the first.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think.
I think the Deathly Hallows Part 2 is the best film out of all of them.
And why is that? Why?
Mostly because of that the scene with,
Hermione and Ron.
with Professor Snape and the fountain or whatever the fuck he was doing when he got killed by that serpent, whatever it was, and it revealed like his whole life and how everything was just like some massive long plan, and like he wasn't actually like the evil bastard that he portrayed himself to be in all 8 films. He's actually like a decent person. And I was thinking that's just that whole.
That was rough. That scene with the
Yeah, that
snake.
was
That
a
was
bit, actually.
really just off-putting.
Yeah.
That was.
You didn't like it?
Oh, it's just really gruesome. The way he dies.
Yeah.
Snape, that I thought
yeah.
I was cringing.
I loved it though. I thought it was a great scene. And I like happy end. I suppose it was a happy ending, wasn't it? I like happy endings, so it was good that it ended in a definitive manner. I think hope's definitive anyway.
I actually thought, like, a lot of people probably disagree with me, but I actually thought the first film was really good.
First film was fantastic.
I thought it was so good. Like, I really loved the chessboard bit. I thought the three-headed dog was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you get introduced to this whole Quidditch of it all. Like, the whole Wizarding world was opened up in that thing, and I think it's much underrated by its next ones. And I personally think it was so good the way they introduced it, and they had all these different magical things, and it didn't have so many missing puzzle pieces in the first film, but then the other films have loads of missing bits, and it's like you get all these Horcruxes come in, and then you find out all this stuff about Snape, his mum, Voldemort. It's good though. Don't get me wrong, they're all good. Although one of them did drag on a bit.
The fifth one was shit.
I think Prisoner of Azkaban is rubbish.
Well, the issue with Harry Potter is because the books got progressively longer, the films didn't. So the first film is pretty close to the book, and then because the films stayed the same length, the books got longer. They, like you're saying, they kept cutting things out. And weirdly, the fifth book is the longest, but the film is the shortest. And they just cut so much out. And there's, like you're saying, that Quidditch was one of the best things about it, but they don't show that much throughout the later films because it's all about Voldemort. So I'd agree in a sense that I think the later Harry Potters are certainly better. I don't know how much of that's down to technology, like the better CGI and things like that. I'm thinking Captain America, Civil War.
Get out. Oh, no, it's Civil War. Okay, Civil War's fine.
What were you going to say?
No, because I thought you were going to say Captain America 2. I prefer Captain America 1 to Captain America 2.
Oh my god, we will get into this, but Captain America 1 is shit.
Don't do this to me. Not today.
So, Civil War, much better than the first two.
Fun, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah. But I'll just say Captain America 1 is the most underrated Marvel film that's been put out so far. Out of this MCU universe.
Your opinion is invalid. Any other films that you can think of?
The new Purge.
Okay.
I think the first Purge, because I've only recently watched Election Year, or whatever it's called.
So Election Year is the third one.
Yeah. The first one, it has such a good idea behind it. Not that I don't want it in real life. Don't get me wrong. That would be a terrible idea. But
So
as
what
a
is the
film
idea?
though, well, the idea is that they get 24 hours. No, is it 12 hours? 12 or 24 hours. I can't remember, to commit whatever crime they want. And then once it's done, crime stops and it's all legal in that time.
Yeah, so the crime rates is
Yeah.
0 for the rest of the year. 'Cause
Yeah.
everyone gets to just release their
The pent-up
stresses.
anger, yeah. And then I think they said it in the third one, but like high-level people, like level 10 people, can't be attacked, can't be picked for this thing. And in the third film, that gets wiped out because obviously they want people to still vote for this whole purge. But I think personally, film progression, I feel like the first film had a good idea but didn't really execute it well enough. It was like, didn't they target the guy who created the safety stuff or something?
It was like
Yeah.
the first one was like a home invasion, wasn't
Yeah.
it? And then the second one was out on the streets and more like a action.
I thought that.
But
I
it
thought
was
that
still following like only in a couple of people.
Yeah, it's
I'd like
following
to
that-
see like I'd like to see like the huge city or like the country just tearing itself apart over the 12 hours or 24 hours, and then life just goes back to normal.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that would be quite good to see actually. Maybe they can make a TV series based on it.
That'd be alright.
That could be
Yeah.
like 24, like
Yeah.
the first hour surviving
Yeah.
the night.
Is it-
The only thing I would not commit a crime like that though. I'd either just get naked and or just set something on fire. That's it. Set off some fireworks in the middle of the street.
So
That
you've
would
got public
that would be my
indecency and
that
arson.
would be my crime. Yeah.
I was gonna say, are you getting naked in public or just at home? Because at home is not illegal.
Well, I do that anyway now, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah, Ollie actually is naked. So your crime would be to be public indecency.
Yes.
And arson.
Yeah, like drinking on the street, you know, like going to the area where they're not allowed. You're not allowed alcohol.
What about
Oh,
Anchorman 2 and 22 Jump Street? Are either of those better than the original?
I've never seen Anchorman, but I think 21 Jump Street is better than 22 Jump Street, personally.
I have to agree. Both sequels were very good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
22 was very close to
Yeah.
being just as good, if not better, than 21.
Oh,
I actually think I found 22 Jump Street funnier, but I didn't like the storyline as much.
Okay.
So I liked the storyline of like the drugs in the school, and I really liked Dave Franco's character and Brie Larson's character. Whereas the girl in 22 Jump Street and her dad, I didn't like them. I didn't like them, but it was funny because the second one was about how it is a sequel and it was very self-referential, and I found that was really funny. And the funniest thing was when they go to Ice Cube's office and he's like, "Oh my god, it's a giant cube of ice." And I was just like, "Hey, I understand that joke."
No, the best bit was when he's at the buffet and he sees him dating his daughter,
Oh,
and
yeah,
he
yeah,
loses it.
Yeah. I've got one.
Classic.
In Between is one, In Between is two.
Oh, definitely In Between is two.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
You guys?
I don't know, actually.
In Between is two was so much funnier.
Do you reckon?
But he's like, "Grow up." No, you grow up. Grow up. Grow up.
Is that in the, I thought that was in the TV show.
No.
No, that's in the
Oh,
second
shit.
film. Yeah, the second
Wait,
film
what-
was so much funny.
Which bit had the shit coming down
That's
the
the
side?
second one.
Oh, I might have to pick the second one. They did that the Phantom of the Opera music, whatever it was.
But in the first one, didn't Neil shit in the somewhere in the hotel?
Yeah, that's because they're in the bathroom and
Yeah.
it's a B-day.
Yeah, he shits in the B-Day. I think they're both quite good.
They're
films,
both hilarious.
actually. I'm kind of glad they didn't do a third one. It would have proper killed
I think
it.
the way they ended it was
Yeah.
that was good. Because we always talk about TV shows going on too long.
What about the coach where he's like, fucking Burnley?
Yeah.
It was Burnley.
Burnley? Can fuck off.
That came out when we were going on our first holiday, though, didn't it? Around
Yeah.
that certain time.
Yeah.
So we could relate to that because we were growing up as we were going through the, like sixth form,
Yeah.
watching In-Betweeners, and we could relate to a lot of these things. So
true.
And we did go to Malia as well, like they did.
Yeah.
Even though it was filmed in Magaluf, which is kind of frustrating. But any other films that you can think of off the top of your head? I mean, maybe we can talk about it in future podcasts.
Off
When
the
we...
top of my head.
I've got a few films here. I can shout some out to you.
I'll tell you one that wasn't as good that I just recently watched, Jack Reacher 2.
Okay.
I didn't like that as much as I liked number one. I really liked number one.
I like-
I don't know if it really counts because it's kind of like a reboot of the franchise, but Casino Royale, the James Bond film, was better than. To be fair, I haven't seen all the rest of the James Bond films before that.
The most recent?
I've never watched a James Bond film.
You've never watched a James Bond film?
No.
I think Casino Royale was a lot better than like I've seen GoldenEye and a couple of the other earlier ones. I think that film was great. Quantum of Solace was dog shit, and Spectre was better than Quantum of Solace, but not as good as Casino Royale. So technically, Spectre's a better sequel to the second one, but not the first one.
That's what I was going to say about because I think Toy Story 3 is a million times better than Toy Story 2.
Yeah,
but not better than Toy Story 1.
Yeah,
so I think because you can't really beat the first one because it's like it's setting a trend. So like Toy Story 1 was like, oh my god, this is this wicked idea that the toys are coming alive at night, and I don't think it was a film before, or at least not to such a degree that was like globally. But yeah, like so. What was on there?
American Pie. Anything American Pies?
Yeah, I thought that reunion one was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets a bit tedious after a while watching American Pie. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To watch American Pies because they got all them spin-offs as well. Like they got Beta House.
I've seen every single one.
Have you?
Yeah.
What's your favourite?
After what? Of the
Out of all of
spin-offs?
them.
Out of all of them, probably the reunion.
Sort of kind of disgusting gore. I think Saw 2 is a hell of a lot better than Saw 1. I mean, Saw 1's great, but Saw 2, that twist. Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Jeez. Anyone seen Saw 2?
I
Yeah,
have not.
remind me.
So
We
Saw
find out that the girl
Saw 2 is where there's like a load of people locked in a house,
in the house.
and one of them's the heroin addict.
Yeah. She survived the first Saw, didn't she?
Yeah,
And so she's
and then one of the guys who's locked up, his dad, is trying to find him, and then they end up. So the policeman, his dad, finds the house that they're locked in, and then he takes off the cover of all the computers that are monitoring the house, and they realise that that's a recording, and then you're like, shit, you're like, oh my god, twist. So that was really good.
Aren't they bringing out another one?
Yeah, apparently. So they ended it with Saw 7, and then now apparently there's Saw 8 coming out this year.
Madness.
That film freaks me out.
What, Saw?
Nah.
I'm not a fan of all that bullshit. I don't like it.
That gore.
I don't like it.
That's the thing. Like when they release a belated sequel to things, like they just tend to be disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go with that for the Jason Bournes.
Yeah.
Because I think the first three definitely fantastic. That was like a Mission Impossible type James Bond, like but American style.
So is Bourne not good then?
The latest one.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a letdown, to be honest.
Okay.
It was just like there wasn't so much of a story. It was just like, oh my god, that's Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
And then someone helped him for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
It was.
I thought that the main actress in it was very weak, and I think the woman's Swedish, and I see all the time actors and actresses who, like for example, American actresses playing people who are Australian or British, and British people playing American accents, and they're really really good, and her accent is really weak. It switches between like I think regular Swedish, American, English. It's literally all over the place, and it really annoyed me because after the film I was thinking like, where was she supposed to be from? But yeah, I think she was supposed to be American, I think. But then I googled it, and she's from Sweden.
Is it better than Bourne Legacy though?
Oh yeah, of course. That film was terrible.
So I guess in some small way it's better than the sequel, but
True.
I think that's the first time I've ever fallen asleep at the cinema.
really,
I fell asleep watching Bourne Legacy at the cinema.
That.
Oh,
was so
what
funny.
days!
That film was awful. Though, I'm not gonna lie.
It was actually terrible.
Really bad.
Okay, well that brings to a close our 4th episode. I hope you enjoyed our talk on TV, old and new. A little bit of nostalgia there with the Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. And
We need to talk about WWE.
we do need to talk about WWE. God, Mickey James and Trish Strauss, mate.
I also need to promote Chuck because that's an amazing series.
We're definitely going to talk about TV again in the future.
that storyline, Mickey James and Trish Stratus, that was one of the best storylines in WWE history. That was so good. We need to talk about that.
Whoever wrote that stuff needs to write for EastEnders or something. Like.
Oh mate, it was so good.
Thank you so much for listening. Tune in next week when Joe will hopefully be back.
Twitter.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at YAC Podcast 17, and we're going to try and set up a Facebook page as well. Please do get involved. Tweet us your thoughts, what you think, what you want us to talk about. Join in the conversation, and maybe we can even read some of them out if you're nice. All right, see you next week.
Laters.